Is it time to tackle the dark money in British politics? I think so, and I'm sure you guys agree with me. I'm going to read into this article from Byline Times. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from Byline Times with the headline that it's time to tackle dark money in politics as voters demand transparency over Britain's opaque think tanks. We know very little about the funding for many UK leading think tanks, but a new report sheds some light on it. It's not right that think tanks, who we don't know who funds them, holds sway over politicians, over people, in saying what should and shouldn't be policy and what we can and cannot do. We should have a right as a public to know who they are and who they're representing, and we don't know that, and that's not democratic. It's undemocratic. It's corruption. It's propaganda, is what it is, and we have a right to know who they are. So many times often we've seen on Question Time or in other interviews or whatnot, on debates online on certain channels, we've seen somebody coming on who represents a think tank of some sort, but we don't know who they actually work for. We don't know who actually funds them, and yet they come and spew these rhetorics on, and we just assume, and people behind the TV screen, they just assume that they know what they're talking about, and the truth is they don't, because we don't even know who they are. We don't know who they represent. When there's an MP sitting there, you know who they are, you know where they're from, you know the political party that they are from, so you know what they are. But a lot of these think tanks, we don't know them, and it's very dangerous, and that needs to change. Transparency is key, and I think we can all agree in that. So, voters believe think tanks, the policy-written research houses that often have variable charitable statuses, are opaque and need to open up about their funding, according to a new polling. A majority, 59% of the British public, believe that think tanks are not transparent, with only 19% of respondents disagreeing. Delta polling from the Centre and Milbank think tank has found. So a polling from a think tank says that 59% of the British public believe that think tanks are not transparent. It's a bit of a funny one, but yeah. So a think tank doing a poll on think tanks from people. Yeah, just putting that out there, guys. A majority of people do not believe think tanks lack transparency. Believe think tanks lack transparency in every area of the UK, including in the poll. It goes for people for all ages, political learning, voting intention, and social classes, with clear majorities of reform, whichever side of the Brexit debate voters fall. The research comes amid a growing debate about the role of Britain's policy research organisations. The findings also appear in Follow the Money, a new report by the Centre think tank devaluing into the scale of the so-called dark money donations of unknown origin, fueling UK think tanks, details of where Byline Times can exclusively share. So, researchers at the Centre think tank, this is funding details below. Okay, so they're going to tell us as a funding. 22 funding details below. Okay, are they going to share the funding as we keep going along? We'll see. 22% of the UK think tanks do not reveal their total income. Just 32% of think tanks reveal all of their fundings of more than £7,500. And overall, right-wing organisations are less transparent than left-wing organisations, and yet have more cash. I wonder what's funding them. The authors propose a new funding transparency body which would support organisations to increase transparency, specific information Commissioner Office guidance on donation transparency, and reforms to lobbying. So what is dark money charity? So dark money is a concern with donations whereby think tanks do not disclose some or all of their large funding sources, the report argues. While US-based donors disclose disclosures give some insight into the type of donations which organisations of this kind receive. It is only a small part of the big picture. The Centre report claims that the activities of opaque think tanks has had damaged the reputation of the sector more generally and has increased distrust in the role that they play within the policy making process. Think tanks have often have charitable status which hold political views and at the same time which is something that which is allowed under the Charity Commission rules. While being charities, they receive tax breaks and allow schemes to including gift aid. By donating to a charity, donors are able to write off their donations as being charitable contributions rather than ones with political aim. So the way that they get their money through charitable status basically means that we need massive reform on this. Is basically what we're screaming out for, because it allows them to get away with saying who they're actually funding and who's behind them, because of what they're doing is not illegal. That's the problem. Again, it's an issue with the law, not so much them, because they're allowed. What they're doing is perfectly okay, but it's not okay because it's undemocratic, but it's legal as well, if you understand my point of view. The former Charities Commissioner and ex-Action Aid Charity Chair Andrew Pumpkins has argued that the Institute of Economic Affairs, for example, has an explicit purpose to shrink the state, and that this is political, and their version of education is promoting a predetermined and controversial point of view that cannot be a charitable education. Under the current rules, political activity is accepted as long as it does not become the single purpose of the charity, the IEA argues. However, that it runs summer schools, publishes books and other educational content. The centre paper argues that dark money is a particular issue on the right. The free marketeer Adam Smith Institute is one such think tank which does not release its donors publicly. It has published papers backing a privatised healthcare system, radically slashing the number of civil servants and opposing minimum tax levels for corporations internationally. All those things scream to me, everyone, that just in itself just shows you just how terrible, how evil, and I do use the word evil, the Adam Smith Institute is, if this is what they want. No benefit whatsoever to ordinary British people whatsoever. This is all about the wealth and the rich. This is the Adam Smith Institute. This is a dangerous institute that needs to be ousted from the United Kingdom. Some donations have come to light over time. A recent Greenpeace unearthed investigation found that the Institute of Economic Affairs have received donations from oil giants BP every year since 1967. Including during a period in the 1990s when IEA research appeared to cast doubt on the link between climate change and the burning of fossil fuel. An IEA spokeswoman told the outlet it is surely uncontroversial that the IEA's principles coincide with the interests of our donors. Yeah, the Institute of Economic Affairs been having such a donation for such a long time. No wonder they're against climate change, because they've got these people in their pocket, because they're getting massive funding, because these oil companies are making so much money, and they're throwing it at these think tanks to say you've got to change the policy. Basically, they can't directly tell them to change the policy, so they get these think tanks to speak for them. But we don't know that. But we don't know that these think tanks speak for them. That's the thing. Reporting by The Guardian also found that in 2011 the Adam Smith Institute received £13,000 from tobacco companies, and British American Tobacco, the company behind brands such as Lucky Strike and Dunhill, has confirmed that in 2011 it gave the IEA £10,000 plus £1,000 in event sponsorship. Again, buying influence. That's what they're doing. It's all about buying influence, guys. Centre analysis analysed hundreds of US disclosed and found that the policy exchange had the most donations from the United States, registering a total of $3.8 million since 2000. The IEA bought in just over from nearly 3.1 million, and the Adam Institutes had $1.7 million. Whilst this shows there are large amounts of money coming from the United States, it shows just how little we know about their funding sources the author found. It shows a very small proportion of their overall funding. Yeah, we don't know the true extent of the funding. That's the scary part. Undermining net zero. The Parliamentary Net Zero Scrutiny Group has strong links with Global Warming Policy Foundation, the GWPF, which has produced publications on areas such as the adequacy of wind power or UK weather in 2022, a warm year but under alarming. One of the Net Zero Scrutiny Group founding members was also MP Steve Baker, a trustee of the Global Warming Policy Foundation. The Global Warming Policy Forum rebranded in 2021 as Net Zero Watch, the NZW, is directly linked to Global Warming Policy Foundation. The forum NZW conducts campaigns and activities which do not fall squarely within the Global Warming Policy Foundation remit as an educational charity. Yet the campaign group is still owned by Global Warming Policy Foundation and is linked on its website. Much like the foundation, Net Zero Watch is highly opaque about its funding sources and expenditures. Many of the staff are shared between the two organisations, and they share the same Tufton Street address in London, Westminster. Over the past 4 years, the American extension of the GWPF received $1.3 million from US donors. Of the $1.545 million in donations the GWPF itself received in 2017. At least 45% of the income originated from the US, according to Open Democracy. This group claims that it refuses money from donors with interest in the energy sector on its website. However, an investigation has shown that it has accepted money from the Sarah Scully Foundation, which was set up by the heir to an oil and banking dynasty and holds $30 million worth of shares in 22 energy companies. They have their claws so sunk into these places. Money talks. The phrase money talks, guys. It's there. Like the GWPF, the Institute of Economic Affairs, also located at 55 Tufton Street. Funny how they all seem to be at the same 55 Tufton Street. Funny that, isn't it? And share the same chairman as Net Zero Watch, Neil Record, until July. The IEA's claimed that 14 members of Boris Johnson's cabinet, including 3 holding the Great Office of State, were Illuminati of IEA initiatives. While former Prime Minister Liz Truss's infamous budget is widely speculated to have a direct influence from libertarian organisations based on Tufton Street, such as IEA and the nearby Adam Smith Institute. The paper cites allegations that the Institute of Economic Affairs arranged for US donors who pledged to donate £35,000 to have a private meeting with Steve Baker MP during his time as Minister. However, the Office of the Register of Consultant Lobbyists said that explicit confirmation from the IEA they had not received payment, directly or indirectly, from the EU foundations or its members, meant that the IEA did not meet one of the key statutory criteria of consulting lobbying, payment by a third party in brackets. Think tanks appear to have considerable influence over the UK government policy. Nah, you don't think. You don't think. Yeah, you think that. It appears to be. It is. It's blatant. It's very blatant. Allegedly, of course. I have to say allegedly. Rishi Sunak recently admitted that the right-wing policy exchange group helped write the anti-protest laws passed under his and Johnson's administration. The Conservatives' 1922 Chairman Committee, Sir Graham Brady, is also an unpaid director for the right-wing Centre for Policy Studies think tank. Dame Andrea Jenkins MP is an unpaid director of Net Zero Watch. When he lost the Conservative leadership election in 2004, Sir Ian Duncan Smith set up his own think tank, the Centre for Social Justice, which the report office argues was instrumental in developing welfare-cutting austerity measures. Equally, the Tony Blair Institute, a global advisory group and think tank with a reported income of £99 million in the year to October, is positioning itself to be a major influencer of a future Labour government. Should Keir Starmer's party be elected next year, along with smaller outfits such as Labour Together. The Tony Blair Institute are going to decide things for us. I don't like that at all. Behind closed doors. Peter Jokahian, author of The Democracy for Sale, Dark Money and Dirty Politics, who wrote the foreword for the paper, said too many think tanks still operate behind closed doors, releasing little information about who funds them and why. The millions of pounds of dark money swirling through Britain's think tank world is deeply concerning, he added. That many of these anonymously funded think tanks are registered charities only adds to the sense that the system is broken and is in need of reform. Public trust in politics depends on everyone being able to see who is funding these influential political actors. Fontaine Wilkins, director of the Centre and the author of the paper, our polling clearly shows that the public sees think tanks as lacking transparency, and that political parties should also take note of these, resulting in the majority of voters from every party through that to the think tanks lack transparency. To tackle these issues, this paper is calling for a new funding transparency body, reforms to lobbying rules, and better guidance on releasing donor information, he said. These will help think tanks to be more transparent while increasing their transparency with new rules. They also help the public see which think tanks are transparent with their income sources. The report, which includes rankings from all think tanks' financial transparency, will be released on Monday, 6th of November. The central think tank describes itself as a centrist and moderate. The report was funded by Gavin Brown. Brown was the chairman of his family business, Brown Forman, the distiller of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey for 14 years. He is also a venture partner of Ascension, a venture capital fund, and a senior advisor of Aspini Advisory, advising family businesses on their corporate governance. Centre publishes all its donors for more than £100 here. So there's a link there, so if you want to see that. Since there's been an update on here, an earlier version of this article said Sir Ian Duncan Smith founded the Centre of Policy Studies. He actually founded the Centre for Social Justice. The Delta poll research included 1,036 adults from Britain and was carried out between the 19th and 20th of October of 2023. Dark money indeed, guys. They have a huge grip on British politics and British sway, and it looks like here, based on this as well, is that it's not going to change anytime soon if Labour come into power with the Tony Blair Institute as well. When are things going to change for the better, guys? Priorities, guys. It's clear that the priorities are not on the British public, but on keeping those in power, staying in power, keeping the money going into their pockets for the well-being, and we are going to suffer as a result of it. What can we do to change it? Well, starters, pushing for proportional representation will be the first step. Changing the way that funding from think tanks into and these charitable status, they need reform. The law needs to change on them so that they cannot have such influence on politicians. Much needed reform across the whole system is needed, and I'm sure we've spoken about these on many occasions. But what do you guys think? What do you make of the dark politics, the dark money, and all this stuff? Interested to hear your thoughts on it all, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button, it'd be greatly appreciated, and if you can, share across social media. And if you hit that bell notification icon, you'll be notified of when I upload another video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.